Hey there, viewers, it's Charlie. I'm back again with another Transformers review, and today's review shall be on Revenge of the Fallen Swerve. And let me just say, oh my god, this is an amazing vehicle mode. This is supposed to be a Corvette, the same vehicle which Trax turned into from G1. And this figure is actually a recolor of Sideswipe from Revenge of the Fallen. And let me just say, I like this color better than Sideswipe's. I just think that this color looks more like Sideswipe's color scheme. Because keep in mind, in Generation 1, Sideswipe was a red color, while in Revenge of the Fallen, Sideswipe was silver. Whereas if here, a recolor of Sideswipe, he's more red. But yeah, I just think that this color screams Sideswipe more than the normal figure does. Now, why did they call it Swerve? I have no idea. I mean, me personally, I would have called this guy Sideswipe, and the silver version, I would have called that Crosscut, after the E-Hobby figure. But before I go off on a tangent, let's have a look at this car mode. I mean, this is definitely a really nice car mode. One of my favorites. I mean, you can see some panel lines from the transformation. But other than that, this is still a really nice car mode. So right here, my voice is cracked. Right here in the back, we can see an Autobahn insignia. Got these little, I guess, well, they're not thrusters. He's not really a jet, but these tailpipes, I guess. I don't know cars that well. But the tail lights. We actually have these side mirrors, which are rubbery plastic. Got the front, and we actually do have a Corvette symbol right in the hood, which is pretty nice. Got some headlights. I can't really see there's an interior to the figure. I doubt there is, however. Well, you can sort of see further, but there's not really an interior. You can just see the underneath of the figure. Speaking of which, I mean, yeah, we got a bit of underjunk, but come on. As I said before, do you ever display your Transformers upside down in their alternate mode? I mean, if you're doing like an action scene where he's being shot by a Decepticon and he's crashed, then maybe. But if you just display them in vehicle mode casually, like one by one next to each other, then come on, you never see the underneath of the vehicle when you display this. But this actually leads to a design flaw. As you can see, I can't really push it along that well. Because either the wheels don't really clip in that well, or these bits are a bit too high up. So you have to try and orientate all the wheels so he can actually roll. I mean, yeah, it doesn't really work that well, but that is a complaint. Often these wheels can collide with bits of the plastic on the actual car, so you have to try and orientate it so the wheel can actually spin. But yeah, it doesn't really roll that well, sadly. Now that's pretty much it for the car mode, but for comparison, here he is with G1 Swerve, and oh my god. This is definitely a case of Hasbro reusing the name, nothing else. Because look, G1 Swerve is smaller, and his red's a bit darker, and he's a truck instead of a car. I mean, for some reason, the name Swerve was reused in a lot of sports cars. For example, Universe Swerve, who was a recolor of Blur from Armada. There was Swerve, that was a Chevy vehicle, which I think was a giveaway at some point. Cybertron Swerve, which is a recolor of Clocker. And of course, this Swerve, he was a red Corvette. However, the truck mode Swerve did eventually make a return. Like, not as in the G1 figure, because, come on. Pretty much G1 figures always come back with the Generations line. But, I mean, different versions of Swerve with truck modes eventually came back. Such as the Arms Micron Swerve, who was a recolor of the Japanese exclusive Prime Breakdown. So yeah, Swerve has been either a truck, a van, or a sports car. And me personally, I guess seeing how I'm partially a G1er, I like the truck Swerve a little bit better. Because, as I said earlier, I feel like this guy should have been called Sideswipe, whereas the silver version should have been called Crosscut. Well, that's pretty much it for the car mode, so let's get this guy transformed, and it is a pretty cool looking transformation, I'll give it that. So to start, take the back wheels and actually unpeg them, like so. If I can just raise my camera, hopefully without breaking my stand. There we go. Because recently, I've had a lot of trouble with my stand, trying to raise it. Because, remember, I use Lego to stand my phone, and how I make my phone tilt up, I just gently bend like the Lego, so like the half of it is not attached to the base. But recently, it's just been breaking off the base and caused my phone to fall over, so I had to redo the recording. But luckily, not this time. But before I go off on a tangent, so you unplug the wheels and just make them go back, like so. Come in here, and if you can, fold out the hands, and you can do this later, but let's just get this out of the way. You take these bits, split them and tilt them around so they form little arm scissors. So you just spread them out like so and they form arm mounted scissors. Next, come in here, the underneath of the front, just untap that. Then untap the hood from this bit and just rotate that out. There we go. Be careful not to break the actual figure. I'll just do the legs right now. So, come in here. I think normally it's supposed to turn it this way, but I have a lot of trouble with that. So what I do is I turn it around this way. Then you actually fold the wheel down and fold this bit out and just connect them. They don't really peg together. It's just friction doing that. But then move this bit around like so. Do the same with this wheel. And that's pretty much his legs done. Come in here, get this bit untabbed, and try and orientate it so it goes into the square peg here. Oh, I forgot. Try and lift this bit up. You want to have it so this bit is technically connected, so there we go. Have it so this bit comes down because that's what the torso bit's attached onto. But try and get it so it, there we go. It plugs into a little square thing. And when you do, can't really show it that well. Well, it's supposed to pop up his head. And I'm having a bit of trouble right now because, of course, this is a regular forward figure. There we go. So his head pops up. Next, take the tailpipes, move them down, and just move that down. And that's pretty much the main robot mode done. But I can't even speak. But as for these bits, well, you can do you can do a couple things. But what I like to do is move this back around, lift this up, turn this 90 degrees, just turn it around and just fold that like so. So, fold it back, lift it up on this black hinge, turn it around on this grey hinge, and on that same grey hinge, if you saw that, fold that downwards. And this is pretty much Swerve. It is robot mode. Now if I can get him to stand, there we go. Normally it can be a bit of a challenge, but if you just have bits, so these bits touching the floor, he stands with no problems. But yeah, here we have Swerve. It is robot mode. And, well, come on, this just looks like G1 Sideswipe if he had ROTF Sideswipe's body. Because, come on, the red everywhere. This is what Sideswipe should have looked like. I mean, well, just having a look around the figure, I do like how these bits fold up, because I think this is how you're supposed to do these back wings. I also like how the car doors scissor out to form, well, scissors. And Sideswipe did use them in the movie to kill Sideways, so yeah, that's pretty cool. But Swerve didn't appear in the movie whatsoever. But whatever. I haven't really seen Resident Evil Fallen fully yet. I mean, I have seen the last 3 movies, and I do have the first one. I do have the first one recorded, and I do want to watch that eventually. But as of right now, I've only seen the ending of Revenge of the Fallen. Yeah, I know. Don't watch it. It sucks. Look, if I could watch clips of Energon and survive, I mean, it is poor, but if I could watch that and survive, I could survive watching Revenge of the Fallen. But before I go off on a tangent, let's have a look at Swerve's head. And this head, well, I don't really like this head sculpt. If I can get my phone to focus. There we go. I don't really like this head sculpt. I mean, most head sculpts in the movie lines are a bit ugly looking, but I wish they had kept the original Sideswipe head for this instead of retooling it, because then I could repurpose this as a version of Sideswipe. I mean, this head, it looks like movie Starscream a little bit, in my opinion. So yeah, not really the best head in the movie line. Well, let's just go on with this guy's articulation. The head is on a ball joint, so it could look around, he can look up, and sort of look down. With the arms, of course, they can move around. Well, he can't really T-pose that well, sadly. But he has got elbows. And I guess technically his hands can move in for the transformation. And if you don't want him having his arms swords, they can fold back up. Although, it does create a sort of high-looking bit of kibble. The waist is nothing at all. Although one thing I do like, even though we do have 2 grey ball joints back there, we do have these little faux ball joints. They're not actual ball joints, but they're sculpted to look like them, which is pretty cool. So you can move the leg around without popping them, which is pretty cool. If you get his arms out the way, he can't really do the full split because of them, but the knee can move, and if you see this grey bit or silver bit, this is the Mecha Live gimmick for this figure, because that was the Revenge of the Fallen gimmick. And instead of the Automorph, they had Mecha Live, where if you moved one bit, another bit moved with it. So it's sort of related to Automorph, but it's more articulation based and transformation based. And I guess if you want to, the wheel bit can move, although you can't really pose the legs that well, because you'll be using the red bits to help stand the figure up. And even then, it doesn't really work that well sometimes. Well, that's pretty much it for the figure, but one last thing is, of course, the comparison with G1 Swerve, and yeah, of course, as you can see, Revenge of the Fallen Swerve was one of those name reuses instead of actual homages. Because while G1 Swerve has got tons of white on him, this guy, he doesn't even have any white, and the closest is a bit of grey on the shins. So yeah, this is another reason why I think this guy should have been called Sideswipe, and the silver guy should have been called Crosscut. But hey, if we just moved the little inferior version out of the way. That's pretty much it for my review on Revenge of the Fallen Swerve. I mean, do I recommend him? Well, let's just get to my complaints first. Well, I mean, if anything, I only have 3 complaints. Maybe 4. One, when he's in car mode, it can be a bit hard to roll him if you don't have the wheels situated correctly, and it's a bit hard to do so. So if you don't have the wheels situated correctly in the alternate mode, then it can be a bit tricky to roll the actual wheels, unless you move the kibble around a little bit. 2, the transformation is fun, but there can be a few fiddly bits. And for me, the most fiddly bit is trying to get this bit attached to this bit. 3rd, the figure can be a bit tricky to stand if you're not careful. Because, as I said, I have him balanced on the red bits right now. But he could easily fall backwards if you're not careful with him. Or even forwards if you're really not careful with him. 4th, the head. I just think that's a weird looking head. And I think it would have been better if they went with the original Sideswipe head. And finally, although this one is just a nitpick, I wish that this guy was Sideswipe, as I've said before. Because, remember, G1 Sideswipe was colored red, like this figure is. Well, Revenge of the Fallen Sideswipe was silver. I mean, the movie line is no stranger to recoloring classic characters. For example, Ironhide is now black instead of red. Ratchet is green instead of white. Jazz is silver instead of white. And the Constructicons are whole different colors. But if they can do G1 themed recolors of those figures, then they should have made this guy a new toy as Sideswipe instead of calling him Swerve. But that's just a nitpick in my opinion. Well, that's both a nitpick and it's just my opinion. But, well, do I recommend Swerve or even Sideswipe? Well, I'd say I definitely do, but be careful. Because while both modes look awesome, especially the car mode, because I just love sports car modes for Transformers, especially ones that actually look I can't even speak. Especially ones that look realistic. And the robot mode does look pretty cool as well. But, well, just be careful because the transformation could be a bit fiddly and he could break in some areas. So, just be cautious with him. But yeah, I do recommend him. Or Sideswipe. Well, this has been my review on Revenge of the Fallen Swerve. And this is Charlie Young, signing off.